Some are always looking for more sports content, and among the glut of sports media, some are looking for sports content that dives a bit deeper and doesn't just stick to sports. So check out Backpack Broadcasting's original long-form sports journalism series, Sideline Stories. The award-winning original series takes viewers directly into underrepresented communities within the world of sports. It's a series that goes beyond traditional sports reporting, like box scores and statistics, presenting exclusive stories that you won't find anywhere else. With a diverse group of correspondents, the series provides interviews and interesting stories around the world of sports, because there is so much beyond the game, and so much that occurs off the field or court that impacts each of us and the world we live in. Giving a voice to athletes, coaches, fans, and everyone involved in athletics, Sideline Stories looks to push sports storytelling further than ever before. It's a winner of the 2020 Independent Shorts Awards, and all episodes of Sideline Stories are available for viewing today on Backpack Broadcasting's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Hard to Tell Podcast, episode 169. Dexter, Henry, Bryan, Fonseca here, and a guest we have for the third time, one of my good friends in this industry. I haven't seen her face in a while, so I'm happy to see her today. Michelle Yu, host, TV reporter, does everything, and a lot has changed since the last time we talked to her. Michelle, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, how are you guys? You guys look great. Miss you guys so much.
I know. We miss you. Except, and Bryan is okay, although he's a little bit annoyed today. But we miss you. But this is your third time on, and I talked to you about this before we started recording. Your multiple appearances has caused some problems with some friends. You know, Sarah Kustak, Coakley. They want to come at me and blame Dex for not having them on, and you've been on multiple times. So now I have to catch them up so they can get to your level, Michelle.
You got to catch them up. First, I got to say I'm honored. I didn't even know this was my third time. So thank you so much for having me on for 3 times. I don't think I'm that exciting to be on for here 3 times, to be honest with you.
I think so.
well, we also brought you back very quickly after the first time. So it was that much fun, and you left that much of an impression. I think it was only like a 17 episode gap. So
yeah,
wow.
I think that's correct.
It's probably also why, Dexter, you've heard some blowback from Janae, from Sarah, and that crew.
Yeah, those girls are much more exciting than me, especially these days. So, I see Sarah with her glamorous Brooklyn Nets lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have to come back to prove it. Neither of them have been here twice yet. So.
That's true.
Oh, that's a challenge for you, Kustak, and you, Coakley.
Yeah, that means next time we ask.
Well, hey, Michelle's been here 3 times already. What's your excuse?
I think that'll motivate them. Well, let's catch the people up, Michelle. A lot has happened since the last time we had you on here. Tell us about what's different in your life.
Oh my gosh, where do I begin? I mean, I left SNY, and I have 2 21-month-old twins. So, let alone there, that's a lot.
That's enough right there.
Life. I know, Dex, you have a baby and a 5-year-old, actually. She's not
5-year-old,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan, I know you don't have kids yet. I don't
think
you have kids
further
yet.
Notice.
Yeah. But oh my God, 2 little having twins run around the house, a boy and a girl, is obnoxious. It really is. It's just obnoxious. And then on top of that, you have the pandemic going on. And then I've been trying to kind of broaden my horizons and do some other different things, which, I'll tell you a little bit about later. So it's like a complete 180 change. I was just telling Dex a few minutes ago, like before we got on, I just feel my life is sometimes unrecognizable because I used to, I worked in television for like 15 years, was on SNY for 10 years and just did my routine. Although it's really nice to not host a show at midnight and go to bed at 3 a.m. I will say it's really nice. But it's been fun though. It's been an interesting journey. You really learn about your life, I think, after you have kids. I think Dex, you would agree with me.
I would absolutely agree with you, and I know Bryan's like, yeah, I don't want to know that just yet, and I understand all that as well too.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm not gonna repeat what I said in the group chat the other day, but Dexter knows my timeline, and as far as having kids, it's a while from now. Hopefully.
You know what, Bryan? take a while.
Yeah,
Take
I've
a
heard.
while.
See?
I actually wanted to ask you because you had twins. One, do twins run in your family? Was that like a surprise? And two, just how just how
Well, it was
different
a
is that?
surprise, but my husband's grandfather was a twin. So I guess
Mhm.
that happened. I never thought I would ever have a twin. But you know, it just, I mean, when we found out, my husband and I looked at each other and we just said in a four-letter word in unison. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I feel like that's
Wait,
all you can say. That's all you can say.
did it start with F or S?
No, it was an F escalation. It
I'm
was.
Oh,
just, Bryan, that's all you can say at that point. I mean, and to be clear, of course, Michelle, we know this was out of a shock, not that there wasn't joy and that you were bringing these two
Oh
beautiful
yeah,
children
yeah.
in this
Oh yeah.
world.
On top of all that, guys, I
Right.
love my kids. You
Of
know.
course.
right, right.
Of course you do. You talked about the thing we know. I know as a parent, even though I'm a parent of one, right, and raising a child who's going to be 5 years old, unbelievably now, balancing that with the work or things that you're trying to do creatively can be a challenge. And I think it's even more so, especially for mothers and women in what we have done, Michelle. Did you find yourself having to really adjust to that, even though you stepped away from SNY and you started getting back into things? Did you find yourself really having to adjust to that once again?
Yeah, it was, it's been a struggle just because now with everything that's going on, and we live in the city and we live in this small apartment, and now, in the city, it's not the same as it used to be, right, guys? You guys know that. And it's interesting how you can't bring your kids out to do certain things now. So for for me, it's like pockets of time. Now it's like finding the right time to do certain things for myself.
Mm.
And if you don't have those pockets of time, that's lost in the day. So your organizational skills are actually like super, super tight. And I think now when I look back at like my life before kids, I'm like, what the hell did I do with my time? I was just like, you know, getting my nails done, doing my hair, shopping, doing like dumb stuff. And I was like, oh, I wish I had a minute of that of my life. So, Bryan, I'm just letting you know, you enjoy every minute of your life right now. It's a
I
warning.
That's
see,
a good
like
advice, Bryan. Good advice.
no, but these are the things that I'm scared of. Like, I don't want to have to, sacrifice a certain amount of things, but then at that point, it's like because my girlfriend tells me about that shit because she has all these visions about like she wants to do this by this age and have this by this age, and I'm kind of like, man, like I kind of want to enjoy this, before
Wait,
like
how
getting
old
to
are
that
you, if
point.
you don't mind me asking?
27.
Oh my
He's a
gosh,
baby.
you have a decade or
20.
more.
No,
There you go.
from what I'm told, the best time for a woman to have a baby is between 30 and 35. So
That
my
wasn't me.
Yeah, Michelle's
right,
like, that was not me. I knew I
right.
wasn't going to say it,
My
but Michelle
but
said it's like, that's not me.
I'm only saying that because that's the window that my partner is trying to, achieve, and that's kind of not really my say because it's very easy for my part of the process to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so I can't really have a say there. So I don't have as much time to get my shit together as I would like. And I would like if the sports media industry would actually get its shit together so that in turn I could get my shit together and then, everything could be smooth. But, sometimes it just happens and you figure it out like Dexter's situation where you just sit in the promenade for a while and then you just figure it out after. You know?
Oh, I
Yeah.
see you guys hustling. I appreciate it. I've always appreciated that about you guys. You guys are like hustling guys of the city, and it's really inspiring. And I hope that the younger generation of journalists out there really look up to you guys and see how it's done. It really bothers me to see how journalism has changed in the
Mm.
sense that a lot of people feel that they're just entitled because they have a phone that they can do whatever. But it's about working hard. And Dexter and I have talked about this at length. And I have always admired the hard work you guys have put in with everything. So I praise your success, from up to this date, and continue that success because you guys have been so deserving of it.
We
I
appreciate
appreciate that.
we
Yeah.
appreciate that you
Can I
say
actually
that.
say something to that too? Because like someone did actually reach out to me yesterday, and I knew who the person was like loosely, like whatever, but I saw like sort of what the the rundown is or whatever. And I told them, we can Zoom, we can talk about it. And in my head, I was also like, damn man, this next generation, like it's just gonna be tough because like the industry is not as a whole getting better. More people are leaving or stepping away and doing other things that they find more enjoyable. It's so cutthroat. It was hard. I was freelancing for a while before I just got my first full-time gig now, and like, you know the situation could be more ideal. You know what I mean? In a lot of
Yeah.
different ways. So like it's hard, and a big part of it was like it was getting shitty before COVID, and now during
Mm-hmm.
COVID, people are just gonna use it as an excuse to make it worse. Be like, oh, now we got to cut back on this, and we got to cut back on this, and not put any more resources in hiring certain people, even though they clearly have the money. Just billionaires just say that they don't. Managers just say that they don't. And like it's more of an excuse for people not to try to experiment and evolve and do certain things and just kind of just be all the same, be all rudimentary the way the industry was going anyway. This probably kind of accelerated that. So everybody should just be mindful in this space about all those things.
Michelle.
Absolutely. And no, and also I just wanted to add, it's also unfortunate if you want to really get into this industry at this time because let's be honest, as sports fans, we all want to what do we want to do as sports fans as being a journalist? We want to go to the games. We want to interview the athletes. We want to be in the action because we want to feel it. But now it's just so hard to feel it. Now everything is a Zoom conversation, like a post game interview is a Zoom conversation or it's a mask thing. And it kind of ruins, I think, the flow of what you expect journalism to be. I know me growing up, watching a game or, you guys know that I'm a big Jordan fan. By the way, that last
Ugh.
dance, just last, like I just watched it over and over during COVID just so that
I'm sure.
I
I'm
could,
sure. I'm sure you did. I'm sure you
yeah.
did, Michelle.
But we can talk about that later too, Dex. But I just think as a fan growing up, you get to see like, hey, this is what it's like to be a journalist. But now, if you want to be a journalist and this is what you're getting into, like those in college now are trying to get into it, like in the next couple of years, it's going to take maybe a year or two before we really get back to normal. And then by then, our rules going to change. Like they see this Zoom like post game conference working, are they going to keep it that way forever? I mean, we don't know,
Right.
but it's presenting situations that I feel are not fun for journalism.
And on top of that, you have a lot of places that are cutting back on journalism
Yeah.
because everybody's like, all right, how can we just
Do
get
more
the
with
most
less.
traction and traffic and clicks and all this bullshit that I don't care about, and
Me
that people
neither.
who actually really care about media and journalism don't really care about. But I mean, I see the direction things are going, and I have my ideals and plans of the future and things like that. But that's an off air conversation.
Michelle, to that point, right? And you as somebody who worked in your previous employer for such a long time, and you and I have had this conversation. We actually had this conversation the first time you came on here with us. We spoke about the idea that you had to do things a certain way in journalism, whether it be you can't leave New York, which you and I both have successfully shown that you can't go that way. Although I will add, I've spoken with some agents in the past couple of year or so where they're like, "Oh, this is what you still have to do," and I'm like,
Same.
"Why? Why? I've already
Raleigh,
done this."
North Carolina.
Right, and no disrespect to
Why?
Raleigh, North Carolina, or any a place like this. Do you think, in a maybe a positive spin, we could probably try to put on this? Are people starting to become more forward thinking in journalism? Because sometimes I sit and say people are just still stuck in the same ways of doing things, and maybe it's not as forward thinking as we would like it to be. What do you think about that?
Well, I think people like you guys have a really bright future in journalism because you're willing to put in the work and be creative. If you're creative enough to like have your phone be able to edit and put together some good stuff, people are going to pick that up. I think what is exciting about journalism moving forward is that you can now do anything anywhere. But what I don't like about journalism is that now they're saying anyone could be a journalist. Back when I grew up,
Wow.
when you were a journalist, you had to know how to write. You wanted to sharpen those skills. You wanted to make sure that you're, catching up and reading, all the materials that you needed to read and know your style guide and all that stuff. What is that nowadays? Nobody knows what that is. And I think that's the problem. with moving forward. But I think journalism is just now in a different state. With social media now, everything is just so different. It's like a different world. If I were now starting out in journalism, I don't think I'd succeed in it because I only know my old school way. I don't know, like Bryan said, like, how do I get more followers? I don't know. Like, like, I'm sorry, I'm not posting sexy photos of myself just so I can get a few followers. That's just not who I am. That's just not who that may be some other people, and that's completely fine. And that's, that's the way you want to like have your audience. That's completely fine. I have nothing against that, but that's just not who I am, so, my belief was you had to do X, Y, and Z and grow a certain way. I was at New York One, before SNY, and I had to, carry my own equipment and do all that stuff. I totally know how that feels. But now I feel people scoff at that idea.
Yep.
Like, oh, I don't want to do that. Who needs to do that? Like, I have a phone, I have Instagram, I have a ring light. I can do anything I want. And that kind of bothers me. But at the same time, it's exciting because, there's a lot more of content creation now. And if you can create good content, someone will pick that up and that can get you in the industry quicker because now with social media, there's so many ways that you can make content in a fun way, whether it be shorts or longs. It just doesn't have to be like, quote, a package or an article or something. If you have something put together that is exciting, people will click on it and that's how you get your in. I think that's the difference now.
I'd agree with that. What do you also think about, obviously, you, in terms of, there's been a lot of talk in the last year about diversity, especially in the industry. But now I look around, let's even just take here in New York. Where's the person that looks like Michelle Yu? We don't have that person there. You know what I mean? We don't see a lot of our Asian American brothers and sisters, even in sports journalism, as much as I would like to. There still is a long way to go in diversity, and in terms for women as well, too. Where do you see things headed with that?
Well, it's unfortunate. I don't see anyone, a lot of people that look like me that are in sports journalism right now in New York City. And that's a shame. And quite frankly, it's disappointing because I don't think, honestly, a lot of the higher executives, they don't care. They don't care.
I've been saying the same thing, Michelle. It's clear that they don't care. It's clear. Yep. I'm sorry to cut you off, but yeah, go ahead.
And they can get away with not caring. Also.
Yes, absolutely. They can get away without caring. There are sports networks now. Everyone I see on TV, they're all white.
Yep.
What,
yep.
Yep. But they don't care. They really don't give two craps about diversity, and they just care about money, and they just care about whether or not they have Instagram followers or whatever have you. It's disappointing. I think, especially for Asians. I think after everything happened with George Floyd, last year, I think, in the African American community, you guys are kind of gaining ground, right? I think slowly things are there for you. But I think for us Asians, we're going backwards. Look at this new stuff, how people are calling us a coronavirus.
Yep.
This Stop Asian Hate Crime thing. I mean, we're going backwards right now. People don't care about us. It's very disappointing. And I think that the less people that look like me that are on the air, the more this is going to go on, and we're not going to turn that page anytime soon. And that's what's sad. But unfortunately, the higher ups are still of certain diversity, and nothing has really changed. It's starting to change. I'd like to see it change a little more, but it's not there yet, unfortunately.
Backpack Broadcasting continues to bring you the best original sports content, but now you can get more of the content you love. For as little as $3 a month, you can get access to bonus content, including behind-the-scenes footage and interviews from the Sports Walk, Sideline Stories, or the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. All this exclusive content comes via Patreon. There are tiered levels of patronage, and each Backpack Broadcasting patron receives exclusive perks. Your support helps Backpack Broadcasting create more of the original content that you love. Visit Backpack Broadcasting's Patreon page and become a patron today.
Bryan, I wanted to talk to Michelle about this, so I'm so glad she brought up
Yeah.
the increase that we have seen in anti-Asian American rhetoric and crimes in this country that have spiked significantly in the last year, especially in large cities where there's a very strong Asian American population throughout the country. We've seen these numbers go up. And I want to ask you this specific to the pandemic and how it's changed all around that. Have you seen that? Because for me, one of the striking things to me at the beginning of the pandemic, and I've spoken with other people about this, when things first shut down about a year ago, if you went out, you would notice a lot of Asian businesses, especially even in my neighborhood I live in, were closed, but other businesses were open. And that was very striking to me. And I remember people being like, well, why do you think that is? And I'm like, because racism, because our Asian brothers and sisters had to be afraid of how they could be targeted. And now you're starting to see, I'm so glad you spoke about it here on the podcast, Michelle, but we're starting to see some of our Asian brothers and sisters speak out more against this increase of hate that we've seen around that. How much does that concern you? And what do you think needs to be done more from Asian community and also it's their allies to combat this?
Well, I think it's sad that this is happening right now. And I think it started with Trump, Trump saying this is the China virus. And then it became a thing where everyone was blaming us. I mean, look, if you're blaming me for the virus when I have been to China once in my life, then it's ridiculous because I look a certain way. I'm more American than anybody else. I was born here in New York City, so for people to think that, they are very uneducated to believe that. And I think it takes a lot of Asian voices who have the power to come out and really deliver a message. And I think we're doing a good job. Like, I'm seeing people in Hollywood like Aquafina and Daniel Day Kim, and recently, I don't know if you guys know Stefan Kim. He's on
Stefan
Eyewitness
Kim.
News.
Yeah, Stefan Kim. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Stefan, also really worked really hard in the industry, climbing the ranks. Really happy for him. He was just on a special recently with a Stop Asian Hate Crime a show, and it was great. And so I think slowly we just need to really step up. I mean, before we were always saying in the Asian community, like if we had someone like an Al Sharpton, we would have a stronger voice. We don't have someone like an Al Sharpton because you know what? In the Asian community, we all don't want to talk. We all just feel like we were taught a certain way and just to kind of put our head down and not make waves and just go on with our lives. But now we need to step up and say something. If we don't, we're going to be hurt because these crimes now are really disturbing. And I think we really need to get the word out and really do something about it. It's just crazy. I think in San Francisco, you guys heard in California, there was a man that was kicked or someone threw something at it. Just really disturbing video to see this. It doesn't matter if it's the Asian race, of any race to see this. It's unbelievable. So I don't care if you're Black, white, Asian, Latino, whatever. It's crazy. And, my kids are half Chinese, half Latino. So, I want them to grow up and be like, hey, you're of a lot of races, and you need to embrace everything. And I think hopefully for our generations to come, for our children to come, they learn that, racism will be something that was behind in the times, but we as people now need to really get it going.
So the point about not having the Al Sharpton one is interesting to me because I was recently listening to Dan Le Batard talk to David Sampson on his podcast, and they were talking about Ichiro. And Ichiro is apparently famous in Japan for sort of being apolitical, not really saying anything on certain things because he's tied to all these sponsorships and just functionally that's how it works. And now that you pointed out, I'm wondering, Jeremy Lin has spoken out multiple times and has always done so. But is this something that we're starting to see where more Asian athletes and just more Asian people in general who have these platforms and Asian Americans speaking out, is that something that's becoming more normalized because of the times we're in now? Is that something that at least provides you some optimism since we're starting to see that? And maybe some of the guys who are more old school, like the Ichiros, see that and then, start to find their voice, I guess, later in life.
Well, I think what LeBron said recently says it all. You know, if he has the platform, he's going to use his voice. And I think people who are in the position now as a professional athlete role, like Jeremy Lin, he's obviously not on the status of a LeBron, but he's going to go use his voice. And I think everyone who has a status, has a platform on social media should use their voice, because I think people are realizing this is the only way we can slowly make change, because before no one was really saying anything and nothing was happening. And now I feel people have a responsibility in the Asian community who have a status to say, hey, my voice does matter. And it is my duty to say something. And I think with that, that starts positive change. One voice just starts a change.
I completely agree. And I spoke about this on the last podcast, Michelle. We stand with our Asian brothers and sisters as allies. We are going to support, amplify those voices, have people like you speak against it, because that awareness around it, I still think it's not getting enough media coverage. That's my opinion on it. I think it didn't get enough media. It didn't get enough media coverage at the start of the pandemic. People looked the other way. Obviously, there were a lot of stuff going on, but now I'm glad it's getting some. But I still think it's underreported, and we need to talk about that and what's going on here in this country. And look, as a black person in this country, the history we know about those kinds of discriminations. But it's just being very direct to the Asian community. I'm just glad to see people are speaking out against it. Since we have you here, we know you are a huge tennis fan, and you did some coverage of tennis, although it was probably weird to do that in the last year. The Australian Open recently that we saw, and the final between was that the
semifinal.
The semifinal between Osaka and Serena. The Osaka Serena matches have me. It's a weird feeling. I am a huge Serena fan, but I love what Osaka's doing, and she's just coming up. And I think I saw a tweet you tweeted out how poised she was as a 22-year-old and how impressed you were with her. You look at her and I start thinking like, man, like Serena's the GOAT, but she's coming. Like she can get to that level or eclipse that possibly.
Yeah.
Are you? Do you share that same excitement and just greatness in watching her? Well, I know Bryan's a huge fan of her too. Just do you share that same excitement? Because I'm watching her and I'm just impressed at how she even plays Serena. And we know Serena's on the decline towards the end of her career, but she's so impressive. I don't even know what else to say. She's just so damn impressive.
She's so impressive. I want my daughter to grow up and be just like her. Like, that's how impressive she is. I think everything about her, she's an all around wonderful person and athlete. I mean, obviously on the court, she's a beast. She has 3 Grand Slams now. And she is just going to continue to win more, I think, unless something, really bad derails her. But let's talk about just how she acts. She's multicultural.
Yep.
She's half Haitian and half Japanese. And I think it's wonderful for kids to grow up and idolize and see her. She says she grew up idolizing Serena Williams, right? And every time, I think it's so cute. Every time she gets on the court, she gets nervous, like being with Serena. And, you're trying to think, hey, if you love basketball and one day you're playing with, LeBron, like, how do you feel? If you're a college player coming out, like, how do you feel, right? It must be that kind of feeling. But I think it's so cool to see that type of naiveness about her, even though she's on the big stage, she's still very innocent in that sense. So I think that makes her such a interesting type of personality. And she's quiet, but yet she really helps use her platform to serve as some sort of way to deliver messages that do good for the world. Obviously, with what she did at the US Open, wearing the 7 masks for social injustice, that was wonderful. I thought she was just so poised about that. Someone asked her about it, and she said, you know what? Because before the US Open, she actually said, I'm not going to play one day.
Yeah, she did.
That's my whole that's how I feel about this. This is how I'm going to honor, the whole situation. And I thought that was for a 22-year-old to do that. Yeah. Oh my, like that, she is something special. And I love watching her. She's obviously an awesome player, but I think it's what she does off the court that I love too. It's her story. and the way she carries herself. And we need athletes like that. I mean, we see a lot of athletes that are up and coming. They're cocky. They're, all about money and this and that, but not her. I mean, I think she's the all around package. She's a wonderful role model for female athletes.
I agree. I already have my daughter watching her too and seeing even she's been watching Serena. So I agree with that. Speaking of Serena, does Serena, she's come up short the last couple of times. She's still obviously one of the best in the world, but even though she can beat Osaka right now, I don't know. Do you think she's got one more left in her to reach 24? Do you think that's possible, Michelle?
Never count out Serena Williams. I was on a show with Salicata recently, and we talked about this, and he said, do you think Serena is done? No, I don't think she's done. I think she's come up short. Look, she won the last time she won a Grand Slam was in 2017. She was pregnant.
I know.
So she won a major title pregnant. Just because she's edging 40, inching closer to that age doesn't mean that you can counter out. Hey, she's going deep into these tournaments. It's not like she's losing in the first or second round. She's still what's the word I'm looking for here? Demolishing. Yeah. I was going to say demoralized, but she's also demoralizing.
She's doing that too. Yeah.
She's doing that too. She's demolishing players who are much younger than her. So it's not like her game is off. I just feel she needs that one Cinderella tournament where she's really going to click, and I could see her doing it. And I think sports fans all want to chase history. We want to, even though if we like her or don't like her, right? We want to see her do something special to say that we've been a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we let you get out of here, because we know you're crazy busy. You've been doing some stuff I've seen into more of the news, political world, which shows your versatility as a journalist.
I did see that too.
I love this.
That shortly before we got on here.
And this is what I love about Michelle, because Michelle is like me. You can't put her in one box, which Bryan loves, right? You can do so many different things as a journalist. You've been doing some
These
stuff.
These companies will fucking try to do it though.
No, they'll try to do it. They'll try to do that shit with you for sure. Michelle, talk to us about what you've been doing with Quick Hits News and what else you got going on.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a Bronx girl at heart. We got to hustle. I don't care how old I am, right? I know I got kids, but I still got to hustle and, and make things happen. And it's just so funny, as I get older, is going to change, right, to something else. I mean,
that's
now
already happened. That's already happened for me. Like from the time I graduated college 5 years ago to now is not the same at all. At all.
But that happens. Like that happens. So now it's just challenging for me now with the pandemic and the kids to see what I want to do next. So I've been doing Quick Hits News, which is new stuff, just kind of interesting because I wanted to see what it was like to kind of talk about news and opinionate about politics, and it's been fun. So I've been doing that, and I'm working on something with the media. I will say this: I'm working something in the media realm, but not in sports, not in news, and not in journalism. So
I have a guess.
Yeah, I have a guess of what it could be because I know you so well. Does it? I don't want to give any hints away. When we're done, I'll tell you what I think.
I think you know. I think you're wrong. Why don't you guess?
Okay, so here's my guess. My guess is that it has to do with food.
Me too.
No, you're wrong.
Oh, you're wrong.
So okay, wait. Let me say something.
I'm more intrigued. I'm intrigued.
When we both, all right. Let me just tell you what I was thinking. Because when we both kind of thought we knew, I was like, Dexter's gonna say food. And then when you said, I don't think you know, I was like, wait, it's not gonna be food.
Oh, Michelle, that intrigues me. Speaking of food, with the pandemic and everything that's been going on, have you missed going out to eat? You like me, I know you like to go and try a lot of new places. You hear the sigh from Michelle. I miss going out to eat. I'm not doing the indoor dining yet. I'm not there yet, as some other people are. But how much do you miss that? Because I miss it like crazy.
I miss going out like crazy. I don't know about you guys. Like, I've just been kind of a pansy sitting at home. I mean, I go out to the grocery store and whatever, but I certainly haven't enjoyed my restaurants that I, normally like to do. Actually, I went out yesterday for the very first time, did a rooftop dining, not
Okay.
indoor dining. They had the window open. It was okay, but it's just not the same too. You have to wear the mask and this and that. I just miss going into like the West Village or the East Village, popping into some small mom and pop joint that sells me some good dumplings and just chowing
Oh,
down and then going to another place and having a cupcake next door. That's what I
yes.
miss.
I miss it too because before the pandemic, I had hit up Michelle and I was like, at some point when she was free, we were going to try to grab lunch. And pandemic hit, and that hasn't happened. And I haven't seen a lot of people to have lunch with. Like I used to have some free time in the middle of the day, so it sucks. It sucks.
I
Now,
know.
now I'm really intrigued to know what you're doing that it's not around food because I know that's what other love. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see whatever that is.
It's not,
It's
but
not around food.
it's interesting. If it's something that I've done before, but not many people know about it, I'll tell you
Hmm.
that.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
so
you're gonna
if
say it on the pod. You're not gonna say it off air.
do you want me to say it on the pod?
You
I
don't
Sure,
have to.
if you want to. If you want to.
But if you want to keep a secret, that's fine as well too.
No, Dexter.
like I said, it has nothing to do with food. It's still in television, like still in media though.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
That's all you can say.
All right,
That's
all
fine.
right.
So
That's
for the next episode, for my 4th time being on this show,
oh
we'll
look at you
talk about
stunting.
that.
Oh,
Look
see,
at you
Janae,
stunting.
Sarah, look at y'all.
Janae and Sarah, you're gonna be behind. Michelle, you see, Michelle, you know what that is. That was a perfect tease for the
Oh
next time
yeah.
that you come on, right?
Right.
And now Janae and Sarah, you gotta step your game up because Michelle has an extra reason to come on for a 4th episode. Michelle, we know you're busy. We wanted you on because it's Women's History Month. We wanted to celebrate some of the women that we've had on the show. We love talking to. You're one of my good friends in this industry. So I know you're busy with 2 kids. You got to go take care of them. I got to go deal with my daughter in a little bit too. So thank you for the time. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yeah, I want to see you guys soon one day. One day we'll have to, eat and catch up
Yes.
in person.
Yes. And we're
I
gonna
miss you guys.
we're gonna do some dumplings. I have a great dumpling spot that I love here in Brooklyn, but I know you told me about some that you like in the city, so we're gonna have to get that done.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
we're gonna have to get
And then Bryan will continue to talk to you about your life goals. We'll be your mentors. I'll be your media mom. How's that?
Oh, that's great because I probably need one. Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, no problem. Michelle, thank you as always.
All
Appreciate
right,
you,
take
sis.
care. Thank you
Take
guys.
care.
Bye.
All right.
One time for your mom, one time. One time for your mom, one time.
One time for your mind this week. Got some interesting stuff from music and also basketball. Bryan will be handling the basketball part of this and part of an article that he wrote on Deadspin, which I think he kind of catered to me. It's an article trying to make me smile.
But it's less about the article and more about the topic.
Yeah, more about the topic. More about the topic. And I read the article before we started recording this podcast. It made me smile, especially with the lead. I thought the lead was really good. All right, we'll get to that. I'm going to kick off the one time for your mind this week because before this previous Friday, before we're recording, which was the 5th of March, the week before that, there was an announcement that had me really excited. I'm getting too excited about certain things in music, but when certain things come up, you got to get excited. Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak had announced that they were coming together. And they had music on the way, an album on the way, and that the single would drop on March 5th, which it did. The name of their band, I should say, called Silk Sonic, which is a dope-ass name, but apparently Bootsy Collins, great funk legend, gave them the name. Bootsy Collins also will be featured on this album. It's sort of the person.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah. I'm so excited for this album. When I heard the news, I believe it was Bryan. I think Bryan was the one who sent it to me.
It was in the group chat with Gerard and Jamal.
Yeah, and sent it to me, and I was like, oh, shoot. Now, the reason I said, oh, shoot, really, I said, oh, shit. The reason I said, oh, shit, no need to tone it down here. The reason I said that was a lot of times we hear collaborations. We get collaborations. We're kind of like, how is this going to work? Is this going to be good? I'm not sure that there were two artists that I was like, oh man, I see this working. They are tailor-made for each other. Anybody who, listens to this podcast, and Bryan and I were both Anderson .Paak fans. We have loved his music for quite some time. Going back to his breakout on Dr. Dre's last project, Compton, which then led to his work on Malibu, which kind of got him on our radars, and we've been really with him ever since then. His last couple albums I've loved. Bruno Mars, and particularly, I know a lot of people probably look at him as really poppy and Uptown Funk and all this stuff, but he's always had a wide range of music that I've liked from his first albums, Doo Wop and Hooligans. I really liked 24 Karat Magic, his last album, which won a lot of awards, including multiple Grammys. Really good album in which he just totally captured the New Jack Swing era. What I like about these artists, both of them, is they're like old souls. They're really able to tap into music from different eras and seamlessly make them sound fresh. And that's what I expected. And then they dropped the first single, which is called Leave the Door Open. And if you have not heard this, I really, really recommend that you do. If you like classic soul, like I do, you're going to like this. It's smooth. It's great. The arrangement is great. The band sounds great with the live instrumentation. Bruno sounds great on this. Anderson does his thing. It's smooth. It's silky. It's sonically beautiful. Silk Sonic. See what I did there? It's just great. I am so pumped for the album. It'll be called The Evening with Silk Sonic. I also recommend people check out. They both did a sit-down interview that seems to be a part of something longer with Apple Music. They sat down with Zane Lowe and talked a little bit about the single and how they came together. And it's really interesting. This all came together from them being on tour in 2017 on the 24 Karat Magic tour, which Anderson was on, opening for Bruno. And they started working on some stuff. And through the pandemic, they worked on more. And this led to this. One of my boys said to me yesterday, we were talking about this, and he's like, look, I could see this being classic. And I started trying to think about the last time I was very confident in a release of two artists coming together that I didn't know. And Bryan, I was going to bring this up to you, and I think you will feel the same as me on this one. I want to ask you this. When was the last time there was a collaboration album coming out and you felt like very confidently that this would work? I know what the one was for me. It did work that great. And yeah, I'm curious if you're on the same page as this. I think you will be.
I don't know. All right, so some people would say Watch the Throne. For me, that's not like...
Nope.
Yeah, no. I think it's an overrated album.
I was somewhat excited, but I wasn't confident in that. Come on, Bryan.
I know where you're going.
Okay.
It's got to be Distant Relatives with Nas and Damian
Absolutely.
Marley.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's got to be Nas.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's one of the most underrated albums of my lifetime.
I agree. It was two artists coming together. You had heard them on Road to Zion, on Damian Marley's Welcome to Jamrock album, and the chemistry to me was just incredible. It was going to be good. They're both conscious artists. They both were going to get production from Stephen Marley, the great Stephen Marley, and the great instrumentation those boys do down there in Jamaica. I felt very confident about that album. And I'll say one thing about that album that before I wrap up, that makes me excited for this album. When I heard that album, Distant Relatives with Nas and Damian Marley, one of the things I immediately felt upon listening to that album was like, man, I gotta hear and see these guys live. I have to do it. And I did. So when they came to Brooklyn, they performed in Williamsburg. I went to a concert there. It was fire. And let's just say there were a lot of things in the air among the people around me that day. And everybody was having a good time. The music was great. It was great performing that album. Nas and Damian looked like they had fun doing it. It was fantastic. These two artists coming together, and Bruno and Anderson, makes me feel like this might be another one where I'm like, man, I want to see this live. Because I expect the instrumentation, the performance, the musicality of it to be so good in what these guys bring to the table. I feel the same way. And so this is why I'm really excited about it. If you haven't, again, please leave the door open. The video, as I last checked, was already over. They did a video for it too. As I last had checked on it, it was already over 2 million views on YouTube. Now it is at 9 almost 10 million views on YouTube already for the video. The video is really good. It's very simple. It's just them recording in the studio, old school studio, really good. But leaves the door open. Anderson .Paak, Bruno Mars, Silk Sonic, name of the band. Evening with Silk Sonic with special guest host Bootsy Collins coming soon. We do not have a release date for it, but I wish it was tomorrow because I want to hear it right now because it's gonna be silky smooth, man. It's gonna be silky smooth.
Yo,
Can't wait.
So I agree. I'm fully confident in this being like a definitive classic album when it comes out. I'm hoping that I think that even if they go up out of our sort of ideal zone of 12 to 14 joints, I think even if they go with 16, sort of like Malibu,
I don't see them doing that.
I don't see them doing that either. I see this being really tight, like 10 to 12, but I'm saying even if they did that, I would feel full confident in them. It just makes so much sense. Like when I saw that they were collaborating, and I think that they toured together before, and this is sort of like that's not how they became friends, but I think that's sort of where the idea came about to do this collaboration, which makes a lot of sense. And then when I see that, I'm like, oh wow, why didn't I think of this? Like this makes so much sense. Bruno Mars, Anderson .Paak, just musically, like they're two of the brightest that we have, two of the most talented guys we have. I'm not like a super pop fan or whatever the case may be, but I could definitely mess with some Bruno Mars, who's actually part Puerto Rican as well. He makes great music. And Anderson .Paak, Malibu was my album of the year when that came out. I expect this to be kind of like Malibu on steroids. I was excited to see that Leave the Door Open was also like a smoother joint because I was like, wait until they get into their sort of up tempo.
Yes. And Anderson's bringing it with the drums. Yeah.
Oh, wait until they get into their up tempo bag. Like that is gonna be awesome. And I think that that's probably gonna be a single that comes out, and that's gonna be whatever that sounds like. I'm ready for that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I do think it's interesting that they came out with a smoother first single. And Bruno said in the interview I watched with Zane Lowe, which was that on this project you will really get to see the range of drumming ability and great drumming ability that you see from Paak in this is good. But yeah, I like that it came out with the smooth joint at first. I think it's really smooth. It's just something. It's perfect. Like I can't. It's just something you play. You with your lady. You got your glass of whatever, your wine, whatever it is that you do, and you're just chilling
Saturday
out.
Night.
Whatever your significant other you're with, and you're just chilling out on a Saturday night. It's smooth. I probably played the song like at least 50 times already. It's just too smooth.
Wow.
Yeah,
I definitely played it.
Oh, it's in a vibe, and my daughter's rocking with it too, which is great. She loves Anderson .Paak, so it's great. It's come on, man. I don't see this being a letdown, Bryan. I'm not one to throw around pre-classic words and get too much into the hype, but this one at least has me feeling. I expect a certain level of quality from these dudes, and it wouldn't shock me if they delivered that.
My last thing on this, do we know? I know Bootsy Collins is hosting it and he's going to be featured.
Yes.
Do we know anything else about features?
No, we don't know anything else about features.
I'm very intrigued when the track list eventually comes out. Who is going? Because it's good. It's going to be a wide range of people. Like this is kind of going to be a genreless album because this is going to hit so many different parts of music. Like I think we're going to get a little bit of everything. So I'm curious to see who's going to be on it as well.
If there are any other features at all. I mean, I think there's some artists I could think about who I think could like get into this. Wouldn't shock me if you saw a Kendrick feature. He's done a lot of funky stuff before too, and him and Paak have collabed. There's I could see SZA being in on this in some kind of way. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people you can see. I hope it's not feature heavy though. That's not what I want.
Right. Yeah.
If there's one or two on the project, that's cool. But I hope it's not too feature heavy, or it's guys I think that will work in that realm and it'll be fine. You know what I mean? But I think Paak and Bruno by himself just carrying this is good enough. Or maybe you get some nods to some older funk or soul artists or jazz artists that come in on this. I'm for that. I'm glad to see that as well. But now I'm excited. Hopefully we get a release date. Track list, as Bryan said, soon. Hope to see it. But I think if you're a fan of just music, period, this has to be one to keep your eye on if you haven't heard about it. Now, Bryan has an article that he wrote for Deadspin, in which he talks about the Knicks, which, for me as a Knicks fan, gets me a little interested, a little excited. Bryan, tell the people what you wrote about with the New York Knicks, one game over 500, heading into the All-Star break, 5th in the Eastern Conference.
I've been watching Julius Randle, obviously, very closely this season, and I've been just very intrigued at like how we sort of receive him differently than Kristaps Porzingis. And it wasn't really meant to be a dig or a comparison, even though like that's part of it. But I was just wondering, like, how is it that people sort of look at Julius Randle now that he's an all-star, in my opinion, the front runner for most improved. He's the face of this Knicks turnaround where they're off to their best start in about 7 or 8 years, and decided to write about it. So I wrote about Julius Randle being the perfect New York Knick for right now. It's on Deadspin right now, but it's less about the article and just more so about this topic that I wanted to bring up. For me, I felt like Kristaps Porzingis was a little bit overrated when he was here, as good as I thought he was. I thought that a lot of it was just sort of optimism and hope from a lot of Knicks fans who was like, yo, we finally have our homegrown guy. Even though when you look at sort of his numbers pre-ACL tear, that year, it was 22 points, it was 6 or so rebounds, it was a couple blocks. And like I mentioned in the piece, it's like, he would get a block shot, get up, trail a play, hit a three, Garden would go crazy, all this stuff. He was also just 22 years old during that season where he got hurt. So it's a lot of different things. And Julius Randle sort of came like from the jump. He was behind the 8 ball because the Nets had just gotten Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to come to your city, but not on your team. And almost immediately after, we learned that the Knicks get Julius Randle on a pretty sizable contract at the time for somebody who hadn't done a lot of winning, but had put up a lot of numbers. So people were just like, oh, what's this? Blah, 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 blah. They wind up getting Bobby Portis, eventually Marcus Morris, and things of that nature, like all these different things. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, yo, Julius Randle's a good player. And, last season, not so great, up and down. He did have a stretch before like January or something that was good, but the Knicks didn't win, so it didn't really matter. And then this year, obviously, he's put in a lot of work, and this year's been weird. Guys in and out of the lineup, whatever. So he's been able to take advantage of that as well. But he looks like a totally, the best case scenario of what we thought he could have been at right now. Kobe Bryant compared him in his rookie year, right after his rookie year. And remember, he missed his rookie year because he played in his first game and tore his ACL. So he didn't even really have a rookie season. And Kobe Bryant called him Lamar Odom in Zach Randolph's body, which is funny, but it's also like you watch him with the Knicks and it's like, oh, I mean, Lamar Odom didn't quite score like this, but it's kind of true. The playmaking, the rebounding, being able to sort of play 1 through 5 offensively. You know what I mean? And, defensively, he's not as good as Porzingis was, but he's clearly gotten better under Tibbs and, is giving more effort and, has sort of that junkyard dog in him, so to speak. And I just wrote about that because I was wondering, like, would he have been even more embraced if we had crowds right now? Like, I can think back to certain moments that Julius Randle's had this year in certain big games and big shots and things of that nature. And in a good Knicks season, compared to where they've been, and a Knicks season where like the trajectory is going up, they're a little bit ahead of schedule. I wondered how Madison Square Garden would have been if we were just a normal society and Julius Randle was doing this, and how cool it would have been to see Knicks fans be able to experience that live. So hopefully that's something that carries over to when we are normal again. But it also, begs the question, like, how far can this go? And then also, why is this, to me, so different from Porzingis? And for me, it was just like he was an undersized guy at his position, third team in like a few years, in like 3 years. He was 24 when he signed, turning 25. So people just looked at it differently coming in. But I actually think he's a better fit for the Knicks than Porzingis was.
I think it's fair. I think one of the things is, like, I always love that comparison that Kobe Bryant made of, him being Lamar Odom and Zach Randolph's body. I love Julius Randle coming out of college in Kentucky. I would have liked to see if the Knicks could have got him that year, but I think they were, I don't know if they had a first round pick that year. I don't think they did.
2014. This is a great What
I
a
don't
great
think.
question.
I don't
This is
think
the year before Porzingis.
it's the year before
Let me
Porzingis.
check why you.
I don't think they had. I don't think they had a first round pick because I think that was the one they traded away in the Andre Bargnani trade, if I'm not mistaken. And so I remember being high on Julius Randle. I thought it was a good pick for the Lakers when he went there. As all the stuff that you pointed out, Bryan. But I think what works. It's funny I'm glad you brought up the fans and you brought up this point in the piece. I do think the fans would have embraced him like crazy. You hear now that some fans have been back and they've had 2,000. He's getting some MVP chance, which I always think is funny when like people give an MVP chance for somebody who's not going to win the MVP. But whatever. I get the point. It's what's going on right now with the Knicks is Julius Randle's a huge part of it. But it's even bigger than that, why I think the fans would embrace it. The fans have been longing for a hard-nosed, tough team. I'm not saying this is the 90s. I'm not saying this is Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason, that stuff. But
he kind of fits that mold.
Kind of fits that mold. He's like an Anthony Mason with a much better shot and better handle, so it's a lot better Anthony Mason. Rest in peace, Anthony Mason. But I think that it's the way the team plays, and he embodies that bulliness, that he's not backing down. He's going at people. And he's really set the culture. And I don't mean that just in a toughness perspective, but also in the way of how he has gone about his craft, getting himself in better shape this year, clearly working on his game. Those things matter. And I think when people see the effort and they see the team play hard, that's something fans, especially fans of the Knicks, historically, that's how the teams have been that have been good. They can really get behind that. They want to see the good defense, the ball movement, the good offense. That's what I think Knicks fans have wanted to see. And you're starting to see a culture form that has started a lot with Tom Thibodeau, the head coach, but he needed a player that was going to be an extension of that culture on the court. And that has been Julius Randle. He's taking what Tibbs is. He's preaching. You've seen his defense be better. He's attacking. He's tougher. He's playing efficiently. Like, that's the thing. And so, to your piece, I think you're right. I was somebody who did not like the Kristaps Porzingis trade, and I still don't think the Knicks should have done it. But you know what? That's all in the past. If you look at all the moves that came to lead you to the point, and all you can do is focus on...
They might get some good picks out of it, too.
And all you can do is focus on the point of where you are and what you might even get or flexibility you have. The Knicks are in a very good position, but a lot of that credit should go to Julius Randle. There should be a lot of people talking about Julius Randle. I, too, like you, agree that he should be the front runner for most improved because of how he's improved his game, but also how that's led to winning. That should matter as well, too. So this guy deserves all the accolades that he's getting, and right now it looks like he's a fantastic fit because I think he's fitting into... It's not necessarily a knock. I think that's what you were trying to make the point of, B. It's not that it's a knock on Kristaps Porzingis. Right. Maybe if Kristaps Porzingis was getting coached by Tom Thibodeau and was be able to be in his culture, we'd see a different sort of impact, sort of result. I think Tom Thibodeau will get great stuff out of him too because I think he's a dope coach. I just think that this was a player that allowed Thibodeau as a coach to have some flexibility. You could put the ball in his hands. Even though last year, I was person on the train of get Julius Randle out of here. I was on that bandwagon. He turned the ball over too much. He's horribly inefficient, which he did play like that last year, except for the one stretch you mentioned in January and sort of right before things ended due to the pandemic. Yeah. He didn't look good. But this should be a lesson to everybody that I like to close with this, which is, just because you see somebody in one place and one time at one point in their life or one point in their career does not mean you don't know when that transformation is coming. You don't know the work people are putting or the coaching that they need, the people that they need around them. We heard Michelle Yu joke about being a media life coach for Bryan or myself or whatever.
I hope that shit ain't a joke.
Nah, but I mean, it's not. But we all, but in a jokey way of just a term. But we all need that, right? We all need certain people that push us places or motivate us to do things. Or when you're going through a tough time to talk to somebody. And so Julius Randle, he's given a lot of credit to Kenny Payne, the assistant coach on the Knicks. He's given a lot of credit to Thibodeau. And these things can happen. Players can blossom. I think too often in sports, we're like, this is what we've seen from this player for 1 year, 2 years, and that's what they're going to be. And it's like, nah, maybe we need to chill sometimes, and people have to get into you talk about this a lot, Bryan, the right situation, the right culture, and they themselves have to have the right inspiration and work ethic to get to that. We've seen that with Julius Randle. Right now, he's looking like a great fit for Nick. Forget about what's going to happen 2-3 years from now or what's going beyond. He's been a huge part of them changing the culture, and that should absolutely be saluted, no doubt, in what's going on with the New York Knickerbockers.
Three things before we get out of here. One, that pick, they had a 12th pick that year. That was actually from the Carmelo Anthony trade. Went to Denver, was traded to Philly. No, was traded to Orlando, and then Orlando moved it to Philly. That player is Dario Saric, who is still in the league and playing pretty well in Phoenix. The pick after was Zach LaVine by Minnesota, who was used in the Jimmy Butler trade. Two more things was like, one, I'm curious to what happens with Obi Toppin now, because I mean, I guess he plays the three, but at the same time, like, if Julius Randle's gonna be this, Obi Toppin seems like a trade chip to me next season or something along those lines, unfortunately. And this is a team you grew up watching, obviously. I mean, unless he's your sixth man eventually, but I don't know, like, could he hit enough jumpers to make you feel comfortable enough for him to play the three?
I have to see more defense for me to see him play the three. I think what you do right now is, look, this is good for Obi Toppin. He's playing against Julius Randle, who's playing at a high level every day in practice. He's going up against him. Maybe it sharpens his game.
Well, when they can practice.
When they can practice, right?
Yeah.
That helps sharpen your game. And, hopefully that gives you some depth at the 4 position. Right now, Obi Toppin, I mean, it's too early to worry about whether you could trade him or not. He could be a trade piece, but his value's got to go up. And that can go up by him learning from Julius Randle and becoming a good backup in a place that people value. And that might help in terms of landing a star player you need. Yeah, I guess my whole attitude with the Knicks is the pieces just got to get better. You got to build a culture. Pieces got to get better. Everything else will take care of itself.
And the other thing I would say is, like, I give everybody involved credit here. Julius Randle just fits better with RJ Barrett than I ever thought was possible. As I watched them this year, I'm looking at them and I'm like, okay, RJ's developed. He's a little better than last year. You can watch it, you can see it, and people also have to remember RJ Barrett is 20 years old. He won't even be 21 until June. Right. You know what I mean? He's still very young. 2 years left on his rookie deal. Next year, he's going to be playing for potentially a max contract if he does break out and take that, third year leap that some guys take. Then he'll be entitled to a lot of money after that. And I could see a future where, I mean, to me, and this is kind of like what I was explaining off air, like right now, Julius Randle is your clear number 1 option. RJ Barrett's number 2. What you want next year is for them to be 1A and 1B, Randle Barrett, and then for the year after for that to flip right before Barrett gets into his extension, for Barrett to be your 1A guy, Randle to be 2. If Barrett could even supersede him next year, that would be great. I just don't think that's going to necessarily happen. He would have to take a massive leap. But they just fit better than I thought they would, which is actually pretty cool to watch because they're both left-handed and they both, need the space. Like, I think part of why they're better this year is because the Knicks aren't as clogged on their roster. Like, Bobby Portis even tweeted out not that long ago, like, the Knicks had too many power forwards last year. That's right. That's why he's playing better now in Milwaukee than he was able to do before. Like, at Marcus Morris, like, all these guys needed space and they were in one another's way. And I think Julius Randle's taking advantage of that. RJ Barrett's taking a little bit of advantage of that. I would still like to see him. He's actually going to the foul line a little bit less than last year. He's like a little bit under 4 free throw attempts per game. It's like 3.8. His percentage has gone up to 73, which I like a lot. I would like that to get to 80 within the next 2 seasons. But he's a guy that can easily, the way he plays, he should be getting to the line 6, 7, 8 times a game eventually.
I agree.
So I think that that's something that he needs to just continue to develop on, along with obviously his jumper, because his 3 comes and goes. But his shot selection, as you pointed out time and again, has just gotten better. And I'm optimistic about what they can build there. Just, don't do anything reckless, because they're good enough to where you can see them in reports. How far do they want to go? Do they want to trade for Oladipo? And, Oladipo just wouldn't make sense to me right now next to those guys. Oladipo, quite frankly, is not even better than Kendrick Nunn right now. And the reason why I bring that up is because Kendrick Nunn is somebody talked about as a trade chip to potentially get Oladipo, who's wanted to be in Miami this whole time. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's kind of like, he hasn't been playing better than Kendrick Nunn over the last 4 to 6 weeks. So why would you even do that?
That could be part of his unhappy where he is. I don't know, but I'm with you. They just need to stay the course, stay in the development. You brought up RJ, some other young guys. You're even starting to see Ntilikina. I know small sample, but playing well in a 3-and-D role, which I've been saying for a while. There's some talent there and pieces there that can work. You don't worry. I can't even worry about the trades, man. All I worry about is just as a person who's like loved this team since he was 7 years old, just watching the development, watching the culture change, and when it's going to attract people are going to want to come and play if you're winning, if there's accountability, if things are run the right way. Just hopefully nobody meddles and messes this up. And for people out there, you'll probably know who I'm talking about in terms of that. Hopefully that doesn't happen. All right, that's it for this episode of the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. Huge thank you to the homie Michelle Yu with her 3rd appearance on the podcast. And hopefully that'll get Sarah and Janae to catch up and come back on and get some more. They'll be back, guys. They'll absolutely be back. We'll get those numbers up for them without having to juke the stats. Please, as usual, continue to support us. Continue us. We're going to have some more wonderful women throughout the month for Women's History Month. Michelle is just the first. There'll be some more people we're talking to, some other return guests that'll be back as well too. And Bryan and I will have more to talk about. So interesting month. March Madness ready to start. NBA post All-Star break. We'll be heating up more trade discussions. There'll be a lot to talk about that as well too. NFL free agency, baseball on the horizon. So a lot coming up in the month of March. For episode 169 of the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. He's Bryan Fonseca. I'm Dexter Henry. Until next time, y'all. Peace.